Now, we would have presentations by companies each representing the trilateral jurisdictions that have been developing and disseminating carbon neutral technology. And we will have Q&A that will follow each presentations that will be moderated by Dr. Edward Kwakwa, Assistant DG, who oversees the global challenges at WIPO and who has expertise in IP, environmental and legal affairs. So first, representing Japan, Mr. IZUMO Mitsuru, CEO and founder of Euglena, will do presentation. Mr. IZUMO, floor is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you in my country, Japan. Thank you very much for having me the great opportunity to share what we do and the company, Euglena Corporation Limited. I'm Mitsuru IZUMO. I'm the president of the Euglena Corporation Limited, and I'm running a bioventure company since 2005. Today, I'd like to talk about two things. I'm going to divide my part into the first half is, of course, what we do and what Euglena is. We are producing sustainable aviation fuel and biofuel as well, extracted from the Euglena microorganism. So I'd like to talk about what Euglena is first. And next, I'd like to show the latest trend and the progress in the field of the biofuel in Japan, especially second generation biodiesel fuel and sustainable aviation fuel. I'm going to touch in the last half. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, my company, Euglena Corporation Limited, is the startup venture company originated from the University of Tokyo Agriculture Department, 2005. And the company is the world's first company succeeding in the outdoor mass cultivation of the microalgae Euglena for food use and biofuel use as well. And we did IPO, initial public offering, 2012, and we were the first company to become to be upgraded to the first section of Tokyo Stock Exchange 2014, and we are currently a listed company on the TSE. And back to the passion of the foundation of the company. When I was a student, I was the first grade student in the University of Tokyo. I visited Bangladesh. You know, Bangladesh was still regarded as the one of the first country in South Asia. And at the time, I saw the real poverty issue there. There are so many carbohydrate and rice. But the people in Bangladesh, they couldn't access to the fresh vegetables, milk, many other proteins, animal proteins, and other dietary fibers. They couldn't access to the fresh, nutritious food items at all. So when I came back to Japan, and I decided to solve the malnutrition problem in developing countries, and I joined the research project of the Euglena. Next slide, please. Euglena, you can see the in the left side picture shows the Euglena. The length is only 0.1 millimeter. It means that we can't see directly Euglena in the pond, in the river, in the sea. We should use the microscope observing the Euglena, very tiny microorganism. You can see Euglena is a green colored. Euglena has chlorophyll. Euglena can do photosynthesis by capturing carbon dioxide and to produce hydrocarbon and many other animal proteins as well, like other plants. What makes Euglena unique is that Euglena is a kind of plant, and Euglena can move by itself like animal. Euglena has both plant and animal genes. Euglena can produce vegetable vitamins, dietary fiber, animal proteins, fishy unsaturated dietary fatty acid, every different 59 types of nutrients Euglena can produce at one time. When you take Euglena powder, Euglena green smoothies, Euglena food items, you take 59 varieties of nutrients at one time. Very useful for the human being and solving the malnutrition problem in developing countries. And we have several different types of Euglena. Some kind of Euglena can produce a lot of vitamins in their body, and the other special strains can produce a huge amount of lipid and wax in their body. And these waxes can be used as a feedstock for producing the second generation biodiesel fuel and sustainable aviation fuel as well. And we can cultivate Euglena in a very special cultivation facility. We put special carbon dioxide condensed emitted gas from the thermal power plant or coal fire plant. We capture the emitted gas into the Euglena cultivation facility, and Euglena can do photosynthesis by absorbing and utilizing the huge amount of carbon dioxide emitted from the power plant, and the productivity it can be boosted when we put carbon dioxide condensed air to the Euglena cultivation or pool or facility. And next, please. In 1980s, a lot of scientists were interested in the cultivation of Euglena, but it's extremely difficult and impossible to keep the pure sanitized environment for the cultivation. It's extremely difficult to preventing from biological contamination. So they had to set up special facility like clean room you can see in the semiconductor factory, but it's very expensive. So we totally changed the method, and we invented the special cultivation liquid preventing from biological contamination in 2005, and set up the special facility in Okinawa, the most southern part of Japan, because we need a lot of huge amount of sunlight for the photosynthesis. And the current factory is located in Okinawa, southern part of Japan. And we became the first company for succeeding the mass cultivation of Euglena for commercial use. And as I said, we did IPO 2012 and 2014. Currently in Japan, there are 3,000 startup companies are there. On the other hand, there are 800 universities in Japan, and counting from 2005, 3,000 startups, venture companies are originated from the Japanese universities. And we became the first company to be upgraded to the first section of Tokyo Stock Exchange 2014. And we were proudly awarded as the Prime Minister Award in the Japan Venture Awards 2014. And 4 years later, 2018, we were selected as the IP Achievement Award from the METI, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry Award. We have filed applications for basic technologies for biofuel production using Euglena in part in 14 countries worldwide that may produce biofuels in the future. It was highly evaluated by the company, by the government, and the patent network was constructed by obtaining patents in Japan, the United States, China, Australia, Southeast Asian countries, etc. And next, please. We do 3 businesses. The first one is the healthcare business. We produce very healthy items. And the next, we produce the biofuel, second generation biodiesel fuel and sustainable aviation fuel. And we do social business in Bangladesh currently. This slide shows the overviews of Euglena Group businesses. And let's move on to the next slide. And why I'm focusing on the biofuel today, I'd like to talk about this one. Why are renewable fuel useful for environment measures? The use of fossil fuels has caused global warming. You know, the 1 liter fossil fuels, when you burn it, you gain the energy and emit roughly 2.6 kilograms of carbon dioxide emitted from the burning of the fossil fuel. But when you use the renewable biofuel like Euglena and other plants can do photosynthesis, we absorb the carbon dioxide roughly 2.6 kilograms for the photosynthesis, and we produce renewable biofuel extracted from the Euglena's body as used as a feedstock. We use the wax and lipid extract in their body and can be produced as a biodiesel fuel and sustainable aviation fuel as well. And next slide, please. We started this project producing second generation biofuel and sustainable aviation fuel since 2015. And currently, we set up the pilot plant in Yokohama, very close to the Tokyo Haneda International Airport, and produce the last year. We have started for providing the biodiesel fuel and sustainable aviation fuel. Next slide, please. The Euglena's, the company's original product, we produce Susteo. Susteo stands for the sustainable oil. And the major product is, the first one is next generation or renewable diesel fuel. You know, the first is the development of technology. Until now, in Japan, only 5% of conventional first generation biofuel in Japan can be used due to government regulations. The reason for this is that using more than 5% biofuel increases the failure rate and makes it impossible to comply with exhaust gas regulations. In 2020, however, Euglena has succeeded in developing a next generation biodiesel fuel that doesn't break down even when 100% biofuel is used, and that complies with exhaust gas regulations, of course. Susteo, the company's next generation of biofuel, is the first biofuel that can be used 100% of the time instead of just 5%, according to JIS, Japan Industrial Standard and legal requirements as well. And the next, lastly, biofuel will also be explained. There is no standard for biojet fuel in Japan. Therefore, biojet fuel, sustainable aviation fuel that has been approved in the United States can be used in Japan. There are 5 approved biojet fuel production methods according to ASTM, American Society for Testing and Materials standards in the United States. Eventually, last year, Euglena's biojet fuel production method was newly approved by ASTM as the sixth production method. Then, interestingly, just 2 days after the approval in the United States, the Japanese government, the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transportation, and Tourism approved Sasteo jet for use in airplanes in Japan. In June of the last year, we flew a Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism-owned aircraft and a Honda jet, private jet on biojet fuel. Next slide, please. The last remaining issue is, of course, cost, production cost. Sasteo, sustainable oil, the cost is 100 times more expensive than crude oil-based conventional kerosene and diesel fuel. But I'm extremely optimistic. The mission of a startup company is to turn zero into one. Japan's first airplane to fly on Euglena. As we expand our plant, the economics of scale will drive down dramatically our cost, and we will be able to deliver our products to you at a reasonable price in the near future, specifically in 2025. Yeah, thank you very much for your attention, and we have a strong confidence to realize the carbon neutral society by 2050. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Izumo, thank you very much. Now, we would like to have Q&A session. Dr. Kwakwa, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Izumo. And I should like to ask you, in your capacity as founder and president of Euglena, are there any initiatives that Euglena is pursuing to meet the 1.5 degrees Celsius target by 2030 and to realize carbon neutrality using intellectual property?
Sure. Thank you, Edward. We aim to contribute to carbon neutral through the development of biofuel. We have been licensed by the special refinery process developed by Chevron and Applied Research Associates, Inc., regardless of the technology developed in-house to achieve the goal. So we have a strong confidence to achieve the carbon neutrality by 2030 and 2050 by using every kind of technologies and IP strategies, some kind of a joint IP project and R&D project as well. So we do everything for achieving the SDGs. So we are aiming to contribute through the every perspective of the technologies and IP strategies as well.
Thank you very much. If I can ask a second final question. My question is, joint products can be conducted in collaboration with multiple parties based on intellectual property rights, including patent rights, of course. So what are the points of concern when conducting a joint project using patent rights that are held by Euglena and using the Euglena cultivation method? And also, what are the key points in proceeding with a joint project? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very important point. So there are 2 points to note, I think. The first one is to apply for a patent for the technology developed in-house, of course, before starting the joint project. And the other is to make it possible to apply independently for a patent for cultivating Euglena cells itself. And the point of proceeding a joint research project is to understand and respect the purpose of other companies' participation in the joint project as well. And finally, I'd like to touch the special point is that until now, we have studied why why Japanese venture companies, the startups have not been successful. We found that despite the great technology, patents, intellectual properties were not being utilized at all in Japan, especially Japanese universities originated startups. Therefore, I've decided to hire a patent attorney when we had less than five employees, because I knew that patent attorneys were very important and key driver when growing a startup. So I think it was very good that we have always worked with our patent attorney to create a roadmap for joint research and development since the company was launched. That's a point, I think. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. IZUMO. Very clear. I think we can conclude that intellectual property underpins carbon neutral innovations, and it clearly makes the companies using them, such as Euglena, even more competitive. So thank you again, and back to you, JPO. Thank you.
Thank you very much.